is up, everybody? Welcome into the final episode of High Floor Football before the regular season. We finally made it. We had a late start in early April. Decided to get the ball rolling about 2 months into draft season, but we made it all the way. Jay, how do you feel about that?
I feel great, man. I feel good. It's nice to get back in the podcast game, the fantasy football game. It's nice to end, I guess not end August, but end the off season with Herms on the show, man. It's been a while. We did some shows, some podcasts last season, but haven't seen you in a while, man. You know, I got a beard. Everything's changed, so it's
So
good to
many
see
things.
you.
Likewise, man. I will say though, the difficult thing of having my phone charge at the same time as like doing this show is that sharing the tweet of the live stream is very hard with my slow internet. So I'm just sitting here the whole time like, okay, I have to share with people that I'm doing this, but it was just like I want to load the emoji. It won't load the emoji because I want the sunglasses. It looks nice, but now full focus. High floor fantasy. There it is. See, look at me. My pointing skills on live streams are fantastic.
Yeah. So
pointing
that
skills
was first try. I never get a first try on the live stream. So there you go.
Here, Pro tip though, just real quick. Whatever side your microphone's on, just that's your point of reference. That's your point of reference. Like,
what if the microphone's right in front of? What if the microphone's right in front of me?
Then you done goofed.
Yeah, rookie mistake.
You got to sound very nice and subtle.
Welcome to High Floor Fantasy Football, everybody. This is a show about fantasy football.
And we're off.
my guys, this is, as you can tell, this is a show that we have, not really prepared for in the slightest. We are free rolling.
We prepared all off season for it. We prepared all off season for this show.
Absolutely. But this is a show about fantasy football. This is a show about life. But most importantly, this is a show about winning. And, there's no fantasy football season that is complete without our league winners. So let's get started on that. But before we do, got a couple announcements to get through, a couple of housekeeping things. First of all, now is the best time to play fantasy football over at Underdog Fantasy. Go over there to Underdog Fantasy, use promo code HFF, and you will get a free up to $100, 100% match on your first time deposit up to $100. I cannot speak, but Underdog Fantasy is the best place to go mock draft the Best Ball Mania 3 with its record-setting grand prize of $2 million is just about full. You should definitely head right on over there. The Puppy 4 is still going. Underdog Fantasy is the absolute best. Jay is an absolute addict. I am an absolute addict. To the best of my knowledge, Herms is not an addict, but if he played best ball, he absolutely would be.
I'm a sponsored content creator for a different company, but nothing against Underdog, I guess. No.
But Underdog Fantasy is one of the best places. So again, that's promo code HFF, and you get a sweet first time bonus deposit. But for the second part of the announcements, we have a nice little announcement of our own. The High Floor Football show has always been an off-season show, but we decided that we want to do this on Sundays as well. So going forward, not every Sunday, but probably every other Sunday, you will be graced by the lovely presence of Jay and myself and whatever poor sap that we can drag on at 11:30 a.m. on Sunday morning to talk starts, to talk sits, to talk lineup questions, to talk trades, anything that you could possibly fit into a 30-minute show here on High Floor Football. Let's get right into it, boys.
Sundays is going to be great. It's going to be, we're going to talk about the start sits, any questions we can get. For me, it's 8:30 on the West Coast out here in the Pacific time zone. So you'll be having your morning coffee with me if it's the West Coast, getting ready for the slate. So, yeah, I'm excited for this Sunday show as well.
Yep. And honestly, this is definitely going to be an undertaking for us as well because nobody likes to wake up early. We like to just get up and set our lineups and go, especially for Jay, who I am waking up at the crack of dawn to do.
I unfortunately cannot sleep in on Sunday mornings, as I'm sure you can understand with some of the things that we have about to happen every Sunday morning. So yeah, it's tough for me already. So why not hop on and answer some questions and whatnot?
Absolutely. I am so excited for that. But before we get to that, we have to get into our league winners. So we are going to go roundtable around the room for each position. Each of us has picked a player outside of the top 5 at ADP that we love and want to think that they will win our leagues this year. So we're going to start with our guest. And Herms, why don't you go ahead and give us your favorite quarterback that is a league winning candidate for you?
So, I mean, like, the odds of this happening are not super high because his offensive line is probably the worst. Really only has, like, 2 decent players to throw the ball to. And honestly, I can't even name all the receivers on his team. But what Justin Fields has going for him is that he will have to run for his life. And in most fantasy leagues, 25 passing yards and 10 rushing yards. It's the same amount of points, 1 point. So just by virtue of that alone, and if he establishes enough of a decent connection on a weekly basis with one of, if not both of, Cole Kmet and Darnell Mooney, yeah, I mean, why not? You know, because I think about when Tyrod Taylor was the quarterback of the Buffalo Bills and how just on a week-to-week basis it was like, this is going to be hideous, but he runs. And it just gives you enough of that high floor, to be able to, plug him into your lineup constantly. I mean, the major caveat being, obviously we hope at least at this point and kind of assume Justin Fields is a better quarterback than Tyrod Taylor, but the point kind of remains the same, just about the type of player that you're going to get and the type of production that you're probably going to get. And it's like, dude, he's going like so close to like around like QB 20 and stuff, especially like super flex people out there. If you're going to do that and you want to punt on your second quarterback or something, just like, dude, scoop Fields at the end. He'll run and do the thing. Cause like I said, 25 passing yards, 10 rushing yards, same.
Oh, I'm totally with you. I mean, there's probably 5 to 6 quarterbacks going above him that I would say, yeah, maybe they'll score more than him. Would I rather draft them though? No. I mean, I would rather wait and take Justin Fields and take the upside, like you said, rather than take some of the quarterbacks that, like Kirk Cousins or Matthew Stafford. They probably would, probability wise, score more if everything goes right, but if everything goes right for Justin Fields, I mean, with his floor combined with what could be on top of that, like you said, I mean, the safe floor of his rushing and the upside of what he's able to do. It's going to be similar to the guy that I'm about to bring up too, but I like the Justin Fields pick for sure. I mean, we're using Football Guys ADP. He's going off the board as QB 17. So that's like right in front of Trevor Lawrence, right after Tua. I prefer him to both of them. So yeah, I mean, I like the Justin Fields pick.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's all about just how many opportunities that Fields gets per game to throw the ball. And look, he's probably going to be running for his life with that offensive line too. Let's just hope he racks up enough rushing yards per game. For what it's worth, his rushing, yards number is not that high on a week-to-week basis. I believe it's in the low 30s, high 20s. That's a perfect number to kind of attack for Fields if you think he's literally going to be running for his life. The only 2 people he has to throw to are Darnell Mooney and Cole Kmet. So I like Fields. Let's move on to Jay's quarterback.
Yeah, so mine's Trey Lance, and kind of going off of Justin Fields, who's almost a more discounted Trey Lance. It's almost getting the same sort of upside that they have, but you can get Justin Fields a little bit later, which why I like Herm's pick as well. But Trey Lance going off the board at QB 11, so right behind like Russell Wilson, Dak Prescott, Tom Brady's at QB 8. I would take Trey Lance as high as QB 7. Personally, which is right around the Joe Burrow, Jalen Hurts area based on the Football Guys ADP. I know Sam would maybe disagree with me with him going that high, but it's another kind of option, like I said, about Justin Fields, the same as, Tom Brady, Dak Prescott, Russell Wilson going ahead of Trey Lance. I would just rather have Trey Lance a little bit later than those guys just based on his upside. I mean, he does have weapons. He has Kittle. He has Deebo Samuel. The connection with Brandon Ayuk seems to have been heating up for the past couple months. We've seen Brandon Ayuk's ADP skyrocket because of it. And Trey Lance, the only knock on him is, some people that question if he's a good passing quarterback. Is he accurate? Similar questions that we had about Jalen Hurts last year and that we have about Jalen Hurts this year. Is he accurate? We still don't know. Does Jalen Hurts have some improvement to do in the passing game? For sure. Is he great for fantasy? Absolutely. So it kind of works like that. And Trey Lance has that safe sort of floor where I do think he's going to be able to run regardless if he has some struggles as a passer. And last year we did see him in limited time and he put up fantasy numbers, which is all we're really asking him to do. So now he's had a full off season to, hopefully get some more control of the playbook, maybe become a little bit more accurate. The elephant in the room is Jimmy Garoppolo going back, but I would say kind of similar to everybody else who has said it. If you're worried about Jimmy Garoppolo coming back for Trey Lance, you probably weren't in on Trey Lance in the first place, because I've been in on Trey Lance for a long time. I'm not concerned with Jimmy Garoppolo coming back. So I think it's, good for the Niners that he's there. Look what I'm holding right behind me. Nick Foles holding the Lombardi Trophy.
There you go.
It is nice to have a backup quarterback to invest.
Saying Jimmy Garoppolo is going to win the Super Bowl?
I'm saying if he has to, it's nice to have a backup that you can put in the game, which the Niners have put in place with Jimmy Garoppolo. He is Trey Lance's backup. Yeah, I'm sure it's not going to be as easy for Trey Lance if he does struggle. I'm sure there will be rumblings about Jimmy Garoppolo, but for fantasy purposes, I'm not worried about it. You can couple Trey Lance with like a Kirk Cousins or with like a Derek Carr or somebody later on, and you have another quarterback. Quarterback is so deep this year that I'd rather take the shot on upside and worry about, my insurance for him later on.
Yep, absolutely. I mean, the problem with the Lance that everyone has is the inexperience and the fact he's only thrown about 400 passes since high school. Something like that.
It's a scary stat. I have heard that one. That one is wild.
It's pretty bad when you look at it and look at the competition he's faced. Just the fact of the kind of offense that he ran at North Dakota State doesn't have a ton of things going for him outside of his freakishly athletic talent and the fact that he can run. So, but luckily, you don't have to be good at football to be good at fantasy. So, it's something that Jay has reminded me of multiple times this offseason. Trey Lance might not be good at football, but he will be good for fantasy.
You have not heard that come out of my mouth, but that is how I debate it with you.
My mouth.
Yes.
That's out of my mouth. But
all right, who is your guy, Sam?
My guy is Derek Carr, and going off the board at QB 14. I don't think you can really find a better value among the quarterbacks here. I mean, this is the guy ranked 5th in pass attempts, 5th in deep ball attempts, 5th in air yards. Ranks 5th in a lot of things, but he also ranks 2nd in his accuracy rating. This is the guy that just acquired Davante Adams and had all those stats last year. Like, he's going to be an absolute monster passing numbers wise this year. And the reason you can say that is they got rid of the dead weight on their, defense and their offensive line. They added a couple of new pieces. Alex Leatherwood is gone. He finally won't allow any more sacks. What a nightmare he was last year for this team. Like, here's the thing with Derek Carr. He passed for 4,804 yards last year on 626 attempts. Now you add Davante Adams and his yearly 160 plus targets to this range. Like, what is the absolute ceiling for Derek Carr? I think his ceiling is Peyton Manning in 2013, and he can absolutely get up there, with some luck. Darren Waller was injured last year and Carr still got to this number. I think that the ceiling is the absolute moon for Derek Carr. And even though he doesn't run, he can be the Joe Burrow of this year. Burrow got, into the top 7 last year on virtue of his passing yards and limited running and the fact that he had both T. Higgins and Jamar Chase. Well, Hunter Renfrow, Davante Adams, and Darren Waller pretty much can equal that as well. I think we should definitely be expecting Derek Carr to throw for at least 5,000 yards, at least 35 touchdowns, and he might even kick in a rushing touchdown here or there. Like, he's my QB 8. Like, he's a screaming value.
Yeah, the ceiling is the roof, as Michael Jordan would say. So go ahead, James.
Well, first of all, just so many good quotes from that man. So many good quotes. But like, if I'm waiting on quarterback in drafts, I'm either going to go with Kirk Cousins or I'm going to go with Derek Carr, because like they're the two that's just like, okay, well, they've been around, we know what they do, but Carr's a little cheaper just because we've seen greater flashes for, well, I wouldn't even say flashes. Kirk Cousins has finished within the top 12 so many times. So, but like with Derek Carr, people kind of have to remember, like you referenced some of those numbers last year, that was with Henry Ruggs being removed from the equation fairly early on. and with Brian Edwards, no offense to Zay Jones either, but I mean, come on. So like all that said, like the last time, actually, I guess really only time he ever like really popped off in a season, that was like Crabtree and Amari Cooper. Like we know what happens when like if you give him something to work with, he's super good, because like it's a criticism of quarterbacks all the time where it's just like, well, if you can't elevate the talent around you, then what good are you? I'm just like, okay, there's like 4 guys that can do that. If that's the bar, then everyone sucks. So like, but the one time in his career they built something around him, he did super well until he got hurt. Like what was that?
2016.
Like, yeah, his leg though, or something.
He broke his leg. Yeah, he broke his leg in week 16. That Connor Cook had to start in the playoffs.
Connor Cook, Michigan State.
There you go. So it's like, we've at least seen it, and now look at what he has in front of him. So like, all the underlying metrics and the fact that we have a one-time we can point to in the past to say this is a good idea. Thumbs up, Derek Carr.
Yep. I just can't say it any better than that. Like he's just such a screaming value. Let's move on to our running backs though. Herms, what you got for us?
This one's a quick hitter because I'm a big running back guy. I've gone through doing a bunch of fun, deep divey research stuff, writing articles all summer long. I'm going with a fun one because I didn't really feel, because I don't know. I'm tired. I just want football to start. J.K. Dobbins, because here's the thing. His price, good at football. And then like the nervousness about him returning from injury, the cost gets lower and lower and lower and lower to the point where now it's like, well, I mean, if you miss on it, where you end up grabbing him, it's not really going to kill you at this point. But if it works, which I think it probably, I'm not a medical expert. I can't say anything. I feel like there's a decent chance it could work, just anecdotally speaking. And if it does, it's the Ravens offense. Now, if you're playing in, standard scoring, which I don't know why you would, but if you are, like, a little better for that. I don't know how many passes he's going to catch, especially with the whole Kenyon Drake coming to town thing. Like, that's a minor detail I don't need to expand upon because that's a deep league thought. But basically, like, Dobbins, if he's healthy, it's such a discount because everybody's scared. I don't see how that's not the definition of a league-winning running back.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, here's the thing. I posted this this tweet. I'll bring it up from about J.K. Dobbins the other day, and I got absolutely rolled on it. Like every single person yelling at me, J.K. Dobbins is not good. J.K. Dobbins is hurt. Don't take J.K. Dobbins. What are you going to do when he's out the first 2 weeks?
This is exactly why you do it.
Do you play fantasy football for your first 2-3 weeks of the season, or do you play it for the playoffs? Like, come on, this is pretty elementary stuff here. J.K. Dobbins was arguably the best pure runner in the 2020 draft. Okay, say what you will about Jonathan Taylor. He was a stud too, but it was definitely J.K. Dobbins and Jonathan Taylor at the top. DeAndre Swift was mostly, thought of really well for his passing chops and, pretty above average for his rushing ability. But nowhere near Dobbins and Taylor, who were the best 2 rushers in the college football that season. So J.K. Dobbins is just a efficiency monster. Finished, with the number 1 true yards per carry metric in 2020 at 5.4 yards per carry. Like that's insane. Like he was ripping off 8, 9, 10 plus yards runs with ease. So, and yeah, they don't give him a lot of passing down work, but that's always been the Ravens' mantra. You just need him to be extremely efficient, and he absolutely will be down the stretch for you. You just need to go ahead and draft J.K. Dobbins. He's in the middle of that dead zone, and he's not a dead zone talent running back.
Yeah, I love J.K. Dobbins. I mean, I have him in like a lot of my dynasty leagues. I have not been able to part with him, even though people have been sending me trades based on the injury discount, like Herms is saying. I just haven't been able to. And in dynasty, it's easy for me because I'm the same way. I mean, I just am such a believer in J.K. Dobbins' talent that I'm like, okay. I mean, if he misses a couple games to start the season, that's like not what I was concerned with. Like J.K. Dobbins is J.K. Dobbins, and that's what I'm concerned with. That's what I've always invested in dynasty. So in redraft, I will admit to my which I don't enjoy saying. I have had a little trouble part of the offseason with him just because there's been times, it's fluctuated a little bit on underdog and best ball. I like getting him in best ball a lot because then I don't really have to worry about it. Hopefully somebody else does well in those first couple weeks. But all in all, I'm on board on any J.K. Dobbins train, so I will hop on that with Herbs there. My guy is Saquon Barkley, and, I'm going to preface it a little bit because he's ranked pretty high already. He's going off the board at RB10. The way I'll explain it, though, is when we're talking about league winners, I wouldn't take Saquon as early as I really think he should go because he doesn't go that early. So there's no reason to reach a whole round on him and take him there if I can get him potentially in the second round, which I have been able to semi-often until the past couple of months, where he has started to climb a little bit closer to the end of the first. But when you really start to break it down, Joe Mixon, Najee Harris, Derrick Henry, I don't ever want to – it's tough to ever group Derrick Henry and things. But I think Saquon does have the same upside as those guys that are going in the middle of the first round, yet sometimes he ends up going in the middle of the second round. And it's because of the injuries, which I understand fully. But when you really look at it too, his rookie season, he had 121 targets. And I know we're talking about ancient history. That's 2018. He's had 3 seasons since then. But he only played 13 games the next season, 2 in 2020, and then 13 last season. And last season was kind of like a wash. He was just on and off hurt the whole time. He still got 57 targets and 41 catches last year, which would still be pretty decent for most running backs. And, most of the downside of Saquon Barkley, besides being the injury history, is, well, he's not the same guy because of the injuries. Well, who's going to be that guy? Because the Giants don't really have anybody else. It's Saquon Barkley, it's Matt Breida. The receiver room is even a mystery to us right now. I like Kadarius Toney. I'm in on Kadarius Toney if he's healthy, which he says he is, but I'll buy that when I see it. Sterling Shepard says he's coming back. Kenny Golladay seems to be disinterested in playing anymore.
And football, yeah.
He just seems disinterested. So that's fine. But insert the picture of him behind that chick on Instagram. That's a funny picture. But either way, if Saquon Barkley's not the guy, who's going to get the volume in this offense? They bring Brian Dable, who I think, generally speaking, most of us are excited about being there. Daniel Jones, I'm not a big Daniel Jones guy, but it just falls back on to Saquon Barkley. And if he's healthy, which last year, who pounds the drum for this, so I really respect who does it all the time, is Dwayne McFarland will consistently tell you last year was a freak injury. He fell on, twisted his ankle on someone else's foot, to call him injury prone for things like that is tough. He has had other major injuries, but if he comes back and he's healthy and he gets the volume in the Giants offense, he's also a guy where not many people have more touch upside as Saquon Barkley, if he's fully healthy. But also he's not game script dependent. He is the passing down back. He is the early down back. There's nobody that's really going to be taking him out of the game. So, Saquon Barkley going in the second round is a league winner for me because of the reasons that I think he could go in the first, and I wouldn't say anything about it. And I just feel he's not talked about the same way as some of these other top running backs this year. It's oh, well, did you get this guy? Did you get this guy? And it's well, I would be asking my first question to most of my buddies when they hit me up about it. I'm well, dude, Saquon's available in the second. That just seems like a steal to me. So yeah, Saquon Barkley's my league winner running back.
Yeah, and I feel like you can't have a conversation about the top 8 running backs in the NFL, both fantasy and regular, without mentioning Saquon on both lists. It's absolutely mind-boggling.
But he's going outside the top.
Exactly. It's absolutely mind-boggling how the casual fan and everyday fantasy football player puts Saquon Barkley on this list of just not being good at football anymore just because he suffered a freak ACL injury last year. 2 years ago. It's not. It just doesn't seem relevant to me, to the point where you're just trying to galaxy brain yourself at that point. You're figuring out, you're just thinking about it too much. Take what is being gifted to you. Saquon Barkley is one of the best talents we have ever seen at the running back position.
Here's my one funny caveat just from a home draft I was in this weekend is one of my buddies was super high. It's an auction draft or salary cap draft, whatever. Spent a ton on Christian McCaffrey.
Mm-hmm.
When I ended up with Saquon, he was saying, well, Saquon, man, these injuries and the risk. And I was dude, I get it. I take Christian McCaffrey first overall, so I'm on board with that.
So do I.
But to be like, well, I don't really love Saquon because of the injuries, but McCaffrey, like, I'm gonna pound that. Like, I'd be like, okay, well,
That was a great fist pound, by the way.
thanks.
Captured really well in audio.
That was
It was
so
passionate.
strong.
It was passionate. But yeah, man. I mean, it's just the things like that are confusing, and so yeah.
Yeah, I mean, look, you won't find many bigger Saquon fans than me. Look, taking it from our guy over at Fantasy Points, at the great Dr. Edwin Porras. Look, who is the biggest Saquon fan that I have ever met in my life. Like, you're just playing yourself. If you're finding ways to take other guys like CMC and then you're not taking Saquon, like, you're absolutely just playing yourself. You're gonna lose. Like, don't make things harder for yourself. Why does fantasy football have to be hard? It can be
And
so
if he gets
easy.
hurt, we're all screwed. But if any of these running backs get hurt that you're taking in the first or second round, you're screwed anyway.
Yes.
So take the guy with the highest upside.
Yeah, you can't win your league in the first round. Stop trying to win it by galaxy braiding and take the safe players. Like who are you going to be happier with over the portion of the season? Saquon Barkley going out and scoring 20 points per game, or Travis Kelce, who might score 15, but his upside is a little bit capped. So I just think opportunity cost, everything matters. Upside, draft good players, all that jazz. If Herms doesn't have anything to say about Saquon, I don't think he does. I think he
I am those people that you're referring to, and it's it's mostly
I love it. Go ahead. Yeah.
It's most, and like I had to come around to just embracing the objectivity of reality. So he moved significantly higher in my rankings than where I had him.
Where does he go now for you?
I think I have him at like 15, but it's only just because like there are a lot of other guys on just stronger offenses that I feel better about getting greater red zone opportunities than I feel he has on the Giants with Daniel Jones. But to your point about, both of you actually, like the whole CMCV, Saquon thing, like I think like the difference between it is that like when Christian McCaffrey is healthy, we know he's the best. And Saquon, if he's healthy, we think he could be the best.
This is true.
But even then, the gap between that, I mean, like, it's big enough to the point where I have a preference one over the other, which is why I'm not penalizing one over the other as much. Mm-hmm. But, like, intellectually, like, it was dumb for me to keep him down because I'm not even going to say where I had him for a while. I thought about it too much. I did the galaxy brain thing, like you were, and it's just like, but that like over the last few weeks, I'm like, like the O-line's better. The guy running the offense understands what he's doing now.
Yeah, you can't really judge.
See, I don't disagree. Like any of the things that Herms is saying, like, I mean, I don't disagree with that either. I don't disagree. Christian McCaffrey should go much further ahead than, I mean, I would take Christian McCaffrey 10 out of 10 times because, like you said, if they're both healthy, I mean, Christian McCaffrey breaks fantasy when he's healthy. It's not a discussion about that. But yeah, it is a funny one when somebody's like, well, the injury history gets me. And it's like, well, a lot of these running backs gets you
an L in your fantasy column this year.
No, I agree, but and the last point I'll say on it is for that like discussion is when somebody asks me in the second round, like I said, where I smashed Saquon. Well, could you rank like Sam's going to talk about, but Aaron Jones, Saquon, DeAndre Swift, like 5. It is tough. There are so many good running backs that having him 15 behind, maybe 4 other guys that are like right in that area, it's tough. I can't fault you for doing that. So,
yeah. I mean, when I did my rankings this year, I had a lot of trouble, and I'm going to pull them up now. I had a lot of trouble with that like 7 to 11 range, the Aaron Jones, the Saquon, the DeAndre Swift.
I got the text this 2 days ago, somebody like in their draft, like rank these 4 guys for me. I'm like, dude, those are all really good guys.
It's tough. And I've gone like up and down. I've gone up and down on my list in drafts, like kind of just to diversify. But like, to me, that just shows like, I'm okay with any of these guys. Like I'll chase upside all day long early on. And instead of going for safe plays, like I understand at that point, that's how you win. Like you don't win by being, secure, but like Saquon at 7 for me, Kamara at 8, Swift at 9. Those are the guys like in that range. I want those guys who will catch passes like all day long. Like again, like Jay said, there was a point where Saquon Barkley was the, along with CMC, the premier receiving back for fantasy football. Like it wasn't always DeAndre Swift. It wasn't always Aaron Jones. It was Saquon first. Like he was the guy in 2018. So I'm looking forward to that coming back. Hopefully with the the offensive line additions, the play calling, the scheme, no Jason Garrett, no Joe Judge, no Freddie Kitchens, none of that toxic energy, holding these guys back. It's time for Saquon to get his stuff together and go.
And all right, I'm sorry I chose such a controversial player in Saquon Barkley. Sam, who is your league-winning running back?
Saquon is far from controversial, my friend. Aaron Jones, however, is a league winner at running back. He is my RB5 this year. And talk about a guy who has all the potential this year. He is the wide receiver 1 in Green Bay. He is Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones still had 52 catches last year. So, this is not a guy who just, faded into the woodwork. With Davante Adams gone, he averages almost 8 fantasy points per game more than when Davante Adams plays. So for me, this is a huge Aaron Jones uptick in workload. Aaron Rodgers is many things, but one thing he is not is trustworthy. Well, he doesn't have trust that he doesn't trust that easily. He's got some major trust issues. Just look at the women he's been with in the past 4 years.
He might have daddy. Yeah, he might have daddy issues.
He's got daddy and mommy issues along,
but and his siblings probably. I mean,
brother issues from the Bachelor Rogers. I don't know.
He's got women issues as well. He's got a lot of issues. Trust issues definitely up there. So it's pretty clear. I would imagine Aaron Rodgers keeps a list of the people he trusts in his bedroom, like taped to his mirror. And it says, these are the people that I can trust today. And then there's another list of people who have screwed me.
It's like Billy Madison, except it's Rodgers putting on the lipstick and he's saying, people I trust today. And he's writing there, Aaron Jones down.
Aaron Jones is written in big, fat, red letters on that list. To me, look, he's been with them since 2017 when he was drafted. He's had a extremely potent receiving role every single year since he was drafted. If you can pull it up, 52 catches, 47 catches, 49 catches, 26 catches, and 9 catches in his rookie season. That's a lot of catches for a running back in this offense. And I think he's going to get up to that 75 catch number this season. Look, Allen Lazard is the wide receiver 1 in Green Bay, but that's not saying much. Look, LaFleur was very particular to say that they're going to use a wide receiver by committee on a week-to-week basis in Green Bay. And behind Lazard, you have and someone insert the sound of crickets chirping here. There's not much there. outside of Aaron Jones, Bobby Tonyan might be the person that Aaron Rodgers trusts the most. So, forgive me if I'm not like our good friend Dave Kluge and completely buying into Allen Lazard as this team's wide receiver 1. So, Aaron Jones is going to be just that guy for this team. Past last year, he ranked 9th in yards created per touch, 9th in yards created. He had a 11.6 production premium that ranked 3rd in the NFL. This is a guy who is extremely efficient with his touches. And I know everyone's been raving over AJ Dillon, and I agree. I think AJ Dillon probably outcarries Aaron Jones this year. He did last year. AJ Dillon might see 250 carries this year, but I believe that Aaron Jones will also be on the field at the same time in a very rare for Matt LaFleur 2-back set. He ran that offense the least in the NFL last season, but I believe we can definitely get up there this season for Aaron Jones. He's absolutely the guy for me. I'm buying into the narrative. Take me down narrative street. Aaron Jones is my RB5.
I mean, dude, I'll keep my contributions brief just because, like, if you listen to my podcast, The Lateral Show, on Twitter at The Lateral FF already, great. If you don't, check it out, Apple Podcast, Spotify, whatever. We talked about this, like, all summer because the Packers wide receiver thing has been interesting all summer. And no matter how long that discussion was or whatever was mentioned, you can make the case for Lazard, do whatever. My final comment at the end of every conversation about it was always, so the real answer is Aaron Jones, because it's the two best players on the offense play running back. When you, even to some degree, what we were talking about with Saquon, it's just like, you look at an offense and like, this is a dangerous trap to fall in sometimes, but every now and then there are cases where you look at it and just say, well, who else is going to do this? So the Packers wide receiver one the entire time has been Aaron Jones, and he plays running back. So what do you know?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's all like when you were saying, the wide receiver one, we were all doing it. We were all doing like the wide receiver. I mean, because it's by position. Yeah, by position he might be. Yes. I think we all kind of expect Aaron Jones to be the biggest passing target in the offense. And like you said, I mean, we can talk about how wherever Aaron Rodgers got his issues from, I think he does really trust Aaron Jones. And I think it was really important to him that they were around. I mean, he's gone on multiple times talking about like how strong Aaron Jones and AJ Dillon are. I mean, he was on the McAfee show again. They're going to do like Aaron Rodgers Tuesday, like they always do.
Book club.
Yeah, renewing it for the third year. And I mean, he couldn't have like gone on and said more good things about Aaron Jones and AJ Dillon. I mean, and it's almost funny because it's as a result, it seems like he's not as high on his wide receivers, which he did cover a little bit. He talked about all them individually. But I mean, you can tell just by the way he talks about Aaron Jones and AJ Dillon, he's going to depend on them pretty significantly. So I'm on board with that for sure. I mean, I don't think it would be out of the question at all for him to be, the RB1 or one of the top guys. We've also seen him, 2 years ago? He scored 16 touchdowns, like 16 rushing touchdowns. So, yeah. I mean, add that into what he does in the receiving game, put that sombrero on his head like he likes to wear, and I'm all about it.
Yep. But let's move on to the wide receivers since we spent a lot of time talking about running backs there. Jay, let's start with you this time. Who's your wide receiver that you think could be a league winner?
Mine's DJ Moore, man, and it's not surprising to anybody that like knows me or anything. I mean, I've been one of those DJ Moore guys just year after year being like, this is the year and like it's gonna happen. And I mean, if anyone in my home league is listening, my main league, shout out like the 12 years or so we've been doing this. I mean, they're gonna laugh because I do have Saquon and DJ Moore on my team this year as two of the league winners. But DJ Moore's a funny one because whenever people approach me about trading for DJ Moore too, I'm that type of person that just values him a little bit higher because you can see what's there. I would ask this, and just as a funny trivia question. I mean, so DJ Moore has 1,100 yards each of the past 3 seasons, which is impressive alone. But who is the other one player in the NFL that has done that? 1,100 yards in 3 straight seasons.
I don't even think Mike Evans has done that because he's barely gone over 1K.
Yeah.
So it's, you guys ready? I'll just say it.
Yeah.
So it's Stephon Diggs. Stephon Diggs is at 1,100 yards in 3 straight seasons, and so is DJ Moore. Clearly, the difference here is the past 2 seasons, at least. Stephon Diggs has Josh Allen. DJ Moore has had a plethora of quarterbacks going through the room. I'm one of those people that believes Baker Mayfield is a significant upgrade over Sam Darnold. Is he Josh Allen? No. Is he an upgrade over what DJ Moore's had in the past? I think he is. Oh. And DJ Moore is that sort of situation where, I mean, the numbers are all there. I mean, 1,100 yards 3 years in a row. The year before that, he was a rookie, and he had almost 800 yards. So, I mean, like, really from when he's been acclimated in the NFL, DJ Moore's a star, man. He just turned 25 this year. I mean, everything else hits except for he hasn't scored more than 4 touchdowns. 2 touchdowns his rookie season and then 4 touchdowns the past 3 seasons. If you bump that up like to even 7 or maybe 8 touchdowns, he's not breaking the touchdown landscape by any means. If he scores 7 or 8 touchdowns, he's like a for sure top 10 guy. And if he's able to keep up this streak of, 1,100 yards, he had 163 targets last year. And I don't think that's going anywhere either. I mean, they didn't really do much to add to the receiver room at all. I mean, they added Rashad Higgins, Terrace Marshall's trying to get through year 2
Shenault.
Laviska Shenault, who they did add, who I was going to get to. They have him, and Robbie Anderson. But in terms of real target competition, I mean, this is DJ Moore's thing. And like just kind of talking about away from the numbers, I like to kind of get into the narratives a lot too, is Baker Mayfield like needs DJ Moore. Like this is like Baker's make or break season. if Baker does not work this season as well as Matt Rule doesn't work, those two are both like out of jobs. And I mean, Baker will probably find a job as a backup or something.
Matt Rule has already lost his job. He just doesn't know yet.
Sure. But like Baker will really be taking a step down in the NFL landscape if he doesn't hit this year. So he 100%. Needs DJ Moore to work. DJ Moore needs him. It's a connection that I think is gonna work out. So he's going as, I didn't even mention it. I mean, DJ Moore is going as wide receiver 14, which is, you know, I wouldn't say I'd take him that much higher. I mean, I would take him over a couple of the guys going ahead of him. I take him over Michael Pittman. I take him over T. Higgins and Keenan Allen. But kind of right in that like 10 to 12 range is where I like DJ Moore. So like borderline wide receiver 1. But he's a league winner to me because of what I said. You know, it's touchdowns aren't a sticky stat, but if he scores, you know, 2 to 3 more touchdowns, I mean, it's just a whole different stratosphere for him. So I think DJ Moore can be a league winner. You can get him in like the 3rd round in some home leagues, like with whatever you're drafting on, whatever site. I mean, sometimes it's there in like the 4th or 5th round. Like if DJ Moore was my wide receiver 3, I mean, I'd be relentless. You wouldn't stop hearing from me. So, I mean, he's a guy that I love as my 2, and if he's my wide receiver 1, I'm just as happy. So, DJ Moore's a league winner, and I think the upside is huge.
Yeah, I think DJ Moore, the only thing that I have to say there is I really hope that Baker is, you know, coming off his shoulder surgery well. Like that, I think that's a big unknown. Like, we know Baker like is better than Sam Darnold. We know he's better than Cam Newton. We just don't know like how he actually looks coming off the shoulder surgery. I think that's a big thing that we're gonna see this weekend is really how he looks right off the bat and whether that shoulder bothers him right away. So hopefully it's not that big a deal. I don't think it will be that big a deal. I just don't see DJ Moore being a ceiling play. I see him being, you know, a very safe floor play. Not someone who I really want as my wide receiver 1, but a guy who I'm fine having as my wide receiver 2, just not really around the spot that he's going right now. How about you, Herbs?
Well, before I even name my player, the one thing DJ Moore and Stephon Diggs have in common, wham bam, let's go, baby. Yeah, all right.
Bam, thank you, man.
I rest my case. So that's why they're both good. Obviously.
That is pretty cool. The only 2 wide receivers to do that are both Maryland guys, which is cool.
Yes, what up? Yeah, yes. Oh, it's a great we take a great deal of pride in that.
Great day to be great.
Oh, 100%. My player is Michael Thomas because where he's going and what he's been before, I don't have anything else to say. Like, it's a gamble, but he's Michael Thomas.
Yeah, I saw someone on Reddit saying that Michael Thomas can be this year's Cooper Kupp, and it's just like, did you live under a rock 3 years ago? Like Michael Thomas has already been the wide receiver 1, dude.
Yeah,
like he doesn't, you know, he can get back up there, but he can't really be called a Cooper Kupp. So I mean, Michael Thomas is that guy. I think he's still that guy. I personally just don't think he wants to be in New Orleans anymore. I wouldn't wanted to be there after Sean Payton, you know, fled for his life. The fact that and if that doesn't scream the Saints are about to enter a huge rebuild, I don't know what's wrong with those you know, less than rational Saints fans out there, but yeah, it does. And the Eagles hold that pick next year. Just making that note. just holding that note. But yeah, Michael Thomas is good at football, man. Like he's really good at football.
I just got a text
when he puts his mind to it.
As we're live, text from somebody saying, "How early would you take Michael Thomas?" That's a live text as we're talking about Michael Thomas.
Yeah, it's like if you're wrong, he goes like I've picked him up.
Goes to like the 8th round,
yeah,
7th, 8th round.
The 8th. Like who cares if you're wrong? But if you're right, then
there's nothing.
You know,
I mean,
like,
I don't do it often. I mean, I'm a heavy wide receiver guy for the most part, but I have, because I've done hundreds of underdog drafts, is at times when I do fade wide receiver for a little bit and you come out with Michael Thomas in like the whatever round he goes in with like loaded running backs, tight end, like quarterback, like, and it's like, well, if Michael Thomas is just Michael Thomas, like this is going to be a cheat code, you know? So he really is tough. I mean, what we were talking about the Saints, like just organization in general. Can you imagine being the owner of the Saints last year when Michael Thomas just declined to like get his surgery on time? And it's like, well, we pay you $18 million a year and like you couldn't do this during the offseason. Like I'd be so pissed. So I kind of agree. I think Michael Thomas is trying to almost like find a way out. But I mean,
He's
yeah,
not doing a good job of it.
if he's on the field, this year, I mean, he's being significantly underdrafted. That is for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, Jameis is a lot of things, but he'll throw the ball. Like he'll do what you need to. He'll lead Michael Thomas on the field. He won't be Drew Brees, throwing on those quick 8-yard slants every time. But they'll be a little bit longer and they'll be a little bit more inaccurate. And you'll have to stretch a little more.
Maybe he'll be post boy instead of slant boy, I guess. So.
Yep. Yeah. So I mean, I think
Thomas
sounds
kind of sick.
I mean, let's be real about it.
It sounds less derogatory than slant boy does.
It does.
So I mean, yeah. We'll go to mine next. I got AJ Brown, and he's going off the board at wide receiver 10 now. That's a little bit of a tick up from last update when he was going as the wide receiver 12. But look, I'm coming off a drafting season where I nabbed AJ Brown on 5 out of 8 teams. Like, this was one of my guys this year, and it's not because I'm a biased Philadelphia Eagles fan. That's only about 28% of the reason. The real reason is because AJ Brown is a top 5 receiver in the NFL talent-wise when he is healthy. And with Devontae Smith and Dallas Goedert there to take the load off of him and not force him to do as much and as many crazy things, I think he's going to have a much easier time staying healthy. I think this is his first full offseason that he's been healthy in his career so far. He doesn't have to do everything himself. He doesn't have a shell of Julio Jones working alongside him, kind of deceptively, drawing coverage away. He's got 2 real alpha talents in both Dallas Goedert and Devontae there to help draw coverage. And he's Jalen Hurts' best friend. Like, this is a real eating breakfast together type shit situation that we are dealing with. This can be the next year's Cooper Kupp. If any, this is the guy
he was quoted today saying he would go to war for Jalen Hurts. So
that's if that's
they're eating breakfast on the battlefield is what's happening.
Yeah, they are dining together in their tent in the morning before they go out to fight the battle of the NFL season. Someone's going to make the captain Andrew Luck, but the captain Jalen Hurts and Lieutenant AJ Brown.
Bullets flying, Belgian waffles. Just good times.
Look, AJ Brown is the king of efficiency. He's a yards per route run monster. He's ranked in the top 10 both of the last couple of years in yards per route run. He doesn't need a lot of targets to really produce. He's only had 211 targets combined over the last 2 years, and he hasn't played a healthy schedule in those 2 years. So with AJ Brown playing 17 games and the Eagles wanting to pass the ball more, remember they actually do want to pass the ball. It just didn't work last year. They were the 6th highest rated team in run pass neutral rating, according to Sharp Football Analysis last year, before they figured out, running the ball works a lot better. So we're going to do that. So AJ Brown is going to really open up this play action game for the Eagles, and he's going to make things a lot easier on Jalen Hurts, who kind of just has to chuck the ball up to him. He'll pull it down easily. AJ Brown is definitely that guy. He's my wide receiver 7 this year. If he gets 130 plus targets, watch out. He could be, sneaking into that top 5 pretty easily.
I mean, dude, it's a really good offense, and then also just the only thing I have to say, just to play to the fact that I'm on a show with 2 Eagles fans. When Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, when that deal got pulled off, I'm terrified of your secondary. I mean, it is like that team is going to be so good, like so good, man.
Yeah, the tide
over
has
under
changed.
on fights,
The tide has
over under
changed
fights
quickly.
that over under on fights that CJ Gardner-Johnson starts in week 1 is set at 2.5 currently.
Dude, he was already.
Anybody?
I saw a video from the Eagles page, their media page, doing something fun with the players, and it was a day after Chauncey Gardner got there, and he's in the face of the camera, yelling. I was like, all right, he looks comfortable. I mean, he is that type of guy.
He really
already,
is.
Like saying crazy stuff, being himself, So yeah, I'm excited about him. But yeah, AJ Brown. I mean, I draft AJ Brown a lot. I have a lot of teams where I stack AJ Brown and Jalen Hurts, and I don't really care about it. I'm not worried about it. I mean, like we talked about with Jalen Hurts, I mean, the floor is so safe with his rushing ability too. But this AJ Brown thing, I mean, all offseason, we are Eagles fans. We've been following it closely, but just as fantasy fans and players too, I mean, the added element of following every single Eagles beat reporter does help because you see all of it and they're literally like, dude, this guy Jalen Hurts will not stop targeting AJ Brown. Like he just won't. And for portions of the offseason, Devontae was on the mend or was off the field for a little bit, so that bakes into it. But I mean, I think the offense in general, and I'm not just being an Eagles homer saying it, is I think the game gets easier for Devontae Smith having A.J. Brown out there. I think it gets easier for A.J. Brown having a guy like Devontae Smith on the other side. I think it works for everybody. And I mean, my main point with him is the thing that people are worried about, I would say, with the Eagles being a high pass volume offense. I think they are going to be higher passing volume offense than they were last year. They tried to be at the beginning of the season. But also when you invest in A.J. Brown to the extent that they invested in A.J. Brown, yeah, I mean, you don't have guys like him, Devontae, and Dallas Goedert out there to be the number one rushing team in the NFL. I mean, they have the O-line, they have the running backs to still, take a shot at that. But I don't think it's going to be as run heavy as it was last year. And especially for A.J. Brown, I just think in the red zone. I mean, I think Jalen Hurts and him are just so comfortable with each other. They've been friends, since before they were drafted, whatever. I think that in the red zone, that's going to be where A.J. Brown really makes his money this year and makes it for the Eagles too, because they haven't had that big body physical wide receiver like that. And I think that's going to make Jalen a lot more comfortable. So
yeah,
I'm all in on A.J. Brown there. I mean, I would take him a little above where
he's truly got to be that guy. The Eagles, it's not Super Bowl or bust, but it is Super Bowl adjacent.
People are getting it's getting scary for me how high people are getting on the Eagles.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
I'm starting to get 2011 vibes.
Like what Herms, don't even go there. That's a scary thing. I don't even want to talk. I don't even want to mention that aura in this situation because this has been it has been a steady build. It has not just been Dominique Rodgers, Cromartie, and Nnamdi Asomugha dream team. We have added some things throughout the offseason more slowly and taking advantage of things. The Chauncey Gardner-Johnson one, I think what Herms is alluding to also was this guy was available for that. I feel that was kind of the general consensus being they got him for so cheap and they were.
And you got Bradbury off the street,
sure, yeah,
out of the blue for nothing.
They made back the picks they gave for Gardner Johnson by trading Rager. It was just
the fact that Howie got anything from Rager. It's
Howie has just been on one. I had one of my buddies who's a Chargers fan who has no interest in any of it, being how did you get something for Rager? Why did you get this for him? But yeah, I'm a little worried about how high people are getting on the Eagles, but I think it's going to be a good season, and AJ Brown's going to be a huge part of it. So I agree with you.
Yep. We're going to start off tight ends. I'm going to go real quick through my guy, and then we're going to round this out real quick. Dawson Knox, tight end 10, is this a thing? It's got to be a thing. He's in the best passing offense in the league. Should be no reason why Dawson Knox is going below some of the guys that he is on ADP right now. And if you look at it, Zach Ertz is there. He should definitely be there, but TJ Hawkinson should not be, in my opinion. There's even an argument for me to say Dallas Goedert shouldn't be there as well, but Dawson Knox has every single thing to prove this year. He has to prove that last season was not a fluke. He cannot go the way of Bobby Tonyan last season. It's just, it has to be a thing. And Dawson Knox is definitely that guy. He can be that guy for Josh Allen. He's extremely reliable. He's extremely athletic. He only had 50 catches on 71 targets last year, but that's a pretty good number for what he saw. He had 9 receiving touchdowns. He ranked 9th in points per game as well, which was a huge increase from him. He'd only ranked 29th and 35th in his other 2 seasons per game. So it was a big jump for him. He saw the 4th highest snap share as well. He also saw 10 deep targets, which ranked 5th in the NFL among tight ends. And he also saw 19 red zone targets. That tells me that he's going to be a big weapon for them in the red zone this year. And I think between him and Gabe Davis, they're going to control a lot of the pace of play down there. And they don't even have to run the ball to do it. They're just going to do it by passing to 2 of their biggest guys. and who are extremely proficient, in the red zone area, and they're going to go from there. So, Dawson Knox is a guy for me. We wanted league winners on this, and I definitely think Dawson Knox's floor is lower than some of the other guys. His floor is definitely lower than Ertz. It's definitely probably lower than Goddard's. It's lower than everyone else in the top 6, but his ceiling is extremely high. Like, he has top 5 ceiling potential. He just needs to see the requisite target share to get there. And I think if his target share can jump from the 13.2% number it was last year to the 17.6% he saw in the red zone, I think that's a huge step up for Dawson Knox. And if his efficiency keeps up with it, I think he'll be fine. So he's definitely going to be one of those guys for me. I'm pretty in on him this year, and I think there's a lot of room for him to grow.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Dawson Knox call is good for sure. I mean, it's the good offense. We saw it last season. It is what you said. I mean, it's just hoping that it's not just the touchdowns, hoping that he gets a little bit more in the offense. But like you said, I mean, he's probably the third option there, behind Stephon Diggs and Gabe Davis. And it's an offense that can definitely support 3, maybe 4 options. So, I think Dawson Knox is a good call there for sure.
Absolutely. Herms, let's move on to your guy.
I mean, this one, again, kind of the thing we've been talking about the whole time. You look at the team, it's not always a good thing to do, but every now and then you can look and say, well, who else? And I think Austin Hooper on the Tennessee Titans is a good example of that because, first of all, even with the departure of, Arthur Smith, him taking over the Falcons offense however long ago, doing his thing, the offense never really changed. So we do kind of just have at least knowing that we can use the track record from when he was there. They've always incorporated the tight end. And for a long time, it was kind of just a frustrating split between Jonnu Smith and Anthony Ferkser, for example, or something like that. But I mean, if you were to kind of combine those responsibilities, because I mean, it's a little bit of a lazy thing to do, but even 80% of aggregating all that together, that's a really good tight end with a lot of opportunity. And, as good as the rookie tight end is that they drafted out of Maryland, who's, I can't pronounce his name. I feel bad. I haven't looked up how to do it yet. I don't want to try because I feel like it would be rude, but he's really talented. So if you find his name on the Google machine, stash him in Dynasty on your taxi squad. But Hooper, people point out just oh, well, he didn't do anything in Cleveland. It's well, that's because there were 3 tight ends in Cleveland.
Unfortunately, no one did a lot in Cleveland, unfortunately.
Yeah. It's just he and not only did he have to share the responsibility with Njoku and Harrison Bryant, but with that offensive scheme, he had to block a lot more than he did when he was in Atlanta. But we've seen him do it before. And going into a situation where I assume he'll be able to have the majority of that share there. And for as much as everybody and their mother who's played fantasy football loved Robert Woods once upon a time, it's an older version of the guy coming off an ACL tear on a new team. And then Treylon Burks, I'm more excited about when Malik Willis becomes the starter. Yes, I said when. Hooper is a decent safety blanket, and if you're going to punt on tight end, because unless you get one of the top 3, I guess you could argue top 4. I'm either do it early or punt till the end. And when I wait until the very end, it's Austin Hooper and somebody that we're going to talk about that I would have picked, except somebody else already picked them, so I can't talk about him. But yeah, so Austin Hooper is my guy.
I feel like we're gonna see that guy coming up here. As far as Hooper goes, I think he's good. I think most people forgot that Austin Hooper was really good with the Falcons in his last season before the Browns kind of just forgot how to use him. They decided to just cycle through 3 really good catching tight ends for some odd reason for 2 years. So I'm glad that's over. Hopefully he can get back to it. Maybe he can be who we thought. Oh God, why is his name escaping me right now? Tight end for the Titans, who we all thought was going to be good last year.
Jonnu Smith.
Anthony Ferkser,
last year.
Ferkser, yeah.
Ferkser. He was mine and Derek Brown's. He was mine and Derek Brown's favorite guy for 2 months last year, and then we got to the season. Ferkser didn't do shit.
And it's like,
And everything
funny enough, I drafted Ferkser in the Scott Fish Bowl last year, and I drafted Hooper this year. So I'm taking another shot at the Tennessee tight end room. Let's see what happens. But
let's go.
My guy, who I think might have been Herms, so maybe Herms can help me make a case for him as well after I talk about him. But it's David Njoku. And I mean, he's going off the board. When I was scrolling down to just look at it too, I was like, damn, where did he go? I mean, he's at tight end 19, and I would take him above like 6 other tight ends that are going ahead of him. I don't like same sort of thing I said with Saquon, because you don't need to. If you can wait on him, I mean, why reach? But I would take him kind of after Cole Kmet, which is tight end 12, over Mike Gesicki, Hunter Henry, or Smith. I'd take him over Albert O. I know that might be a hot take to some people, or Noah Fant. We're talking about a 6th-year breakout here is what we're hoping for. So we've seen glimpses of it. I mean, if you ever seen the Chief Njoku standing there before the games, I mean, the guy is immaculate in his form and his athleticism. He's got it all there. We saw it at Miami. Pretty high pick for a tight end going into his 6th season. Like I said, 6'4", 245. He's only 26 years old, though, which when you really start to look at the tight end landscape and these guys, when they really start to break out, I mean, none of them are like 20. I mean, unless Kyle Pitts, who is a completely different animal, they don't really break out until like after they're around like 25, 26 years old. It takes a little bit of time. We all expected a lot more from Njoku. But my part where I'm more so saying league winning is Deshaun Watson. And, forget everything else surrounding Deshaun Watson, but he comes back week 12. And if you're a guy if you're somebody who's streaming the tight end game, you have 2 or 3 tight ends and you're trying to figure it out, which I kind of assume you would be if you have David Njoku in the first place, because if you have one of those top 5, no real need to have like that second guy. But if you're streaming them and you have 2 to 3 guys hoping for one to break out, I mean, if Njoku starts to have a pretty decent season, which he should anyway, because Jacoby Brissett's really not that bad in terms of guys that could be starting. Not great, but not terrible. And Njoku could maybe be the 2nd or 3rd target in the offense behind an Amari Cooper or maybe David Bell and Donovan Peoples-Jones. We'll see. I don't expect him to be a big target getter, but maybe a big playmaker in their offense. But when Deshaun Watson comes back in week 12, I mean, and maybe you are on the verge of making the playoffs or you're fighting for your spot or seeding or whatever. I mean, David Njoku could be a league winner for you because Deshaun Watson could come back and, again, all the other stuff about Deshaun Watson, who knows? But I do think he's going to come back and be ready to like light up the football field. The guy has not played in like 2 years and has a lot to prove in general. So I think him coming back with David Njoku could match up perfectly for like a league-winning situation where you just have this guy whose situation gets so much better kind of out of nowhere. And he's going off the board as tight end 19. So like I said, I mean, Robert Tonyan, Noah Fant, Albert O, Irv Smith, Hunter Henry, Mike Gesicki, those guys are all going ahead of him. I would rather just wait on David Njoku and then maybe grab like David Njoku and Gerald Everett rather than like any of those guys going ahead of them. So
yeah, absolutely. I mean, Njoku is just such a good athletic guy. Like you mentioned, he's only 26 still. The Browns did the right thing by finally giving him a good contract. I think he's been like sorely like overdue for something like that for a while now. Like he's just very good, was underused to a point. Like he is absolutely extremely high level talent. Like they make these tight ends in Miami really well. Brevin Jordan's the next one, and Njoku was the first. Like he's just extremely good at football, and he's fast.
Well, so you said the contract. I think that's such a good point because he hasn't done that much. And for Cleveland sees him in the building every day. And for them to be like, we're going to invest this much in you, even though you really haven't done that
Cleveland's
much.
judgment is skewed. Their judgment is skewed because they're historically bad.
That's true. That's a bad point to bring up because of, yes, they gave Deshaun Watson a completely irresponsible contract. But I think seeing David Njoku for 5 years every single day and being like, we don't want him to leave the building does mean something. So, yeah, thanks for bringing that up. I think that was a good point.
Yep. But draft David Njoku. He will do good for you in fantasy leagues. Draft guys like Cole Kmet, draft Austin Knox, draft Austin Hooper, draft all the guys that we talked about tonight. But this has been the last offseason episode of High Floor Football. My name is Sam Wagman. He is Jay Arsh. And Herms, once again, why don't you let everyone know where they can find you and what you got going on this season, my man?
Well, you can follow me on the Bird Machine at Herms NFL. That is my Twitter handle, and I talk about breakfast foods and weird stuff, but also fantasy football. You can find my content over at Fantasy Six Pack. That is where I'm primarily going to be coming out with. I'm the waiver wire guy this year. I got a gig as the waiver wire guy, so like I'm just a whole thing, like talking like before waivers run, the little weekend waiver thing, last minute pickups and stashes and stuff. I'm doing the whole thing. It's fascinating. And then I got some stuff over at Football Absurdity. I got a weekly column I'm running back that I did last year. Super fun. And then I do some stuff here and there for Fantasy Pros as well, including being part of ECR for my first year ever. So let's see how I do in the accuracy competition for weekly rankings. Who knows? That's going to be, I don't know. I'm confident, but I don't want to get myself too inflated, because sometimes it'll just make me freak out and yell. And
you sound extremely confident.
Exactly. But if you're interested in hearing me freak out and yell and be nervous about being wrong, I have a podcast where I do that all the time. And it's called The Lateral Show, a sideways look at fantasy football. I plugged that before, so you can find that there. And then I have a promo thing that conflicts with your promo thing, so I'm not going to do it out of respect for being in a road game. So there you go.
Shout out Thrive Fantasy, which Herms is not saying. You can use promo code Herms, and I'm not sure of the deposit bonus that you get, but I'm sure it is something nice.
100% match up to $100.
Instead of the sorry Joe, we'll slide in the sorry underdog.
Yeah. So, sorry underdog. And sorry Joe, I did curse on this live stream at least once. So thank you guys for coming to tune in with us the entire summer. We will see you this Sunday at 11:30 a.m. and at the Ask Crack of Dawn for Jay at 8:30 a.m. Have a good night, everybody.